have been conducted over on a Zoom meeting. I read that Zoom has gone from about 10 million or so users up to over 200 million. It's probably going to increase over the next month.
Yeah, it's crazy. A cool story about the founder, I think it was he tried to get into the U.S. like 7 different times.
I read that Zoom has gone from about 10 million or so users up to over 200 million. It's probably going to increase over the next month.
Yeah, it's crazy. A cool story about the founder.
Just killing it.
I think it was everybody tried to get into the U.S. like 7 different times.
I read that Zoom has gone from about 10 million or so users up to over 200 million. It's probably going to increase over the next month.
Yeah, it's crazy. A cool story about the founder. Just killing it. I think it was everybody tried to get into the U.S. like 7 different times.
I read that Zoom has gone from about 10 million or so users up to over 200 million. It's probably going to. That would be fun.
Yeah. So
I'm easy. I can pull a lot of clips from online and use some of our current events for what's going on. And hopefully it sounds like we're getting some encouraging news today that some of the models might have overshot. So I think it was a little premature to worry about missing out on college football and the NFL season.
Right.
Draft in a few weeks. We'll see where Harrison Bryant, maybe James Pierre, and maybe another owl or two goes. But I certainly think that come September 3rd at Minnesota, that Thursday night, come the practices in August leading up to that, we hopefully, and it looks like over the last couple of days, starting to head towards that path of we will be at a place where students can be on campus and players can be on the field.
I want to know, this might sound bad, but whatever. With the limited amount of fans that FAU has at their game, a lot of people that I hear, sports broadcasters and the voice of radios and things like that, they are saying, like pre 9/11, you didn't have to take your shoes off going through the airport, just different protocols. So now when you go into a stadium, say you are an SEC fan and you go to Bama Auburn, is there going to be a space in between each person? Is instead of people being stuck at the gate trying to get into the Boca Bowl and not having water, are they going to be having thermometers, tapping foreheads or whatever, making sure that nobody is able to come in who has a fever?
And the nasal swab going on the way.
How does this affect it? And for FU, again, not a large fan base, right? For whatever reason, Wendy hasn't brought out the fans, but how does this all work going forward?
Well, I mean, we know why that is. They'd rather stay home and listen to the radio. I mean, you're killing them. You and Levick.
Well, with the production, the caliber of the actual show, I think, yeah, obviously. It's funny because if I tell anybody that, oh yeah, and I'm on the radio, they're like, oh, cool, all right, cool. But when Ken says it, right? When Ken's like, I'm the boy, I do FAU. Oh wow, yeah, you sound great. Like Ken's awesome, and I could talk about him because he's not here right now, and I'd be saying the same thing if he was. But no, I think we're lucky to have the crew that we have. Ken being like the Optimus Prime of us Transformers. That's kind of how I see him. I think he makes the broadcast so much better than if it was just me or if it was just you or if it was just anybody else plugged in. He just knows so much.
Without a doubt. No, that's he's been great during the basketball season as well. And that's I think, even a tougher job. I mean, as much as we love those road trips and we feed off each other, when he's got to fly solo for those broadcasts, Ryan Mackey did a good job helping him out in the studio and took a little bit of an increased role as they got into basketball season. But still, that's over 2 hours of content game. I mean, we know about all the stats and numbers that are flying at you all the time in football, things you're trying to look up. I mean, basketball could have periods where there's more constant action without those little breaks to try to look things up as, someone's in a huddle and you are yakking or I'm sending it to break or anything else. I mean, Ken's got to be on point for those basketball games. I think that's actually the tougher part of the job for him. Football is like just hanging out and watching sports.
Right.
Great vantage point at FAU Stadium, wherever we travel to. Basketball is when he has to do work.
That part, you would think that part is pretty difficult. I mean, obviously it is. But like you said, when there's 3 people in the booth, if I have a small cough, I can take the mic away and cough or whatever, pop a cough medicine and it's streamlined. It's going well, but if Ken tries to catch a hairball in his throat mid possession, he has to try to.
Doesn't let it slow him down though.
It's not. It's not. Where is this dude at?
He is a pro. Once he starts a call, he can get through it. The only problem is we have to get him on the call in the first place, like here tonight.
And yeah. So here we are. There's a.
Now you've had a big off season, like I said, a new Bartels baby added to the family.
Yeah.
Ooh, you settled over on the west side of the state now, over in the Tampa side of things.
813, baby.
Yeah, you liking it there?
My quarterback noticed that, hey, Tampa must be really great. This guy Chris Bartels is there too. So let me just leave, Foxborough and just go down there myself.
That's it. Brady saw the way you and Shayna were rocking it, and he said, "Hey, this could be fun."
My boy TB12, man. Him and I are gonna have a great bond. Him and I are gonna be like Lane and I.
Now it was nice of you to, if it's that close. You've seen him for a while, except on airplanes, but. But it was nice of you and Shane, I think, at least, to leave the Jeter mansion for Tom and Giselle to enjoy. And you guys, didn't want to downsize to that.
We were going to do an entire Super Bowl 2021 there.
Nice.
And TB12 was like, look, we got this going on. Talk to Jeter about it. I think it just worked out for the best. I think we're going to get a win-win situation with that, with him using the facility that we were going to use, but then having a real possibility of bringing that Super Bowl here. You know what I mean? I think it's a win-win.
So it might be playing in it. I think the Bucs would just be happy to have a quarterback who doesn't need to go to an optometrist before the game.
Oh my gosh, how crazy is that? Like, hey, great season, 30 for 30. All right, let's go have your eyes checked out now. We'll pay for it. You think that's what Bruce Arians did? You think he was like
30 and 30 in the stat book, and he went 30 for 100 in the eye chart?
Golly, I don't know.
Not good. That was listen. Brady wanted out. It actually sounds like he almost ran out of options. And listen, playing for Bruce Arians, if you're a quarterback, that's never a bad option to have. But
right.
I think he wanted to go out to the Bay Area near where he grew up. And probably has, a much better situation he could walk into out there to get back to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And ironically, the Niners say, "Nah, you know what? We'd rather have that guy that used to back you up in New England that Belichick wishes he had back right now."
That is crazy. That would have been a bizarre scenario. You trade the backup, and then the team who gets the trade trades for the starter. I almost feel like that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back. Like,
I think especially when Belichick wanted to keep Garoppolo around, things weren't the same after that. And then Tommy didn't feel appreciated. Things kind of snowballed from there.
It's a touchy business, man. These guys, for as much as, and nowadays you see a ton of people like donating money and entire paychecks and things like that. But if you dare to comment about, their sideline etiquette, that ego just, you know what I mean? Like, it just...
Those feelings will still get hurt there.
It's like gremlins. They just morph. They morph into these different people. But...
you would think between, 6 Super Bowls, Spygate, Deflategate, every other gate, you'd think they would have a little harder skin, but apparently they still had some hurt feelings.
Right.
At least on the TB12 side of things. The Guerrero doctor, that was another element in there. So... Listen, I mean, the relationships are important on the field and off, and we're looking to see what types of new relationships Willie Taggart and the staff will be able to develop with these guys. And that's, we wish selfishly that we could just take in spring practice and overanalyze the April depth charts and look forward to seeing them on the field in the spring game. But it is going to really complicate things, especially for Willie Taggart and company here in Boca. Or if you were to look at our former coach, Lane Kiffin, in Oxford at Ole Miss. I mean, any coach trying to install a system right now has challenges that are crazy compared to what really anyone has experienced since like World War II.
Right. And especially with football, the way football has advanced, not just schematically, but with the technology. If this would have happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I think programs would have just been like, yeah, we're done. Like right away, like we can't, there's no way this coach is going to be able to produce X results on the field. But I think with things that we have going now, I wonder how many Zoom meetings Levitt or Taggart or whoever, has on a daily basis with the players. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Our good friend Chuck King, FAUAccess.com, he's, like I said before, Willie Taggart and Company using this very same platform we are right now, about 4 hours per week using Zoom in order to try to put in these new schemes, as a unit, and then breaking up into 2-hour groups for their meeting rooms, basically, like you would see now at the awesome Schmidt Center, which we were great and really happy to be able to check out on signing day. But now they basically have to break up into these various Zoom breakout rooms in order to meet with your position coach and try to get a little bit more specific. But that's an incredible challenge I have to do. I mean, I guess that's the one good thing about technology is if you went back several years, you wouldn't be able to do certain things like this while being under this type of quarantine. But, it's certainly going to be a challenge. And I know that was one of the questions that Ken had solicited and received on Twitter is how does all of these changes that are impacting first-year coaches, especially in our case, Willie Taggart and Company, how does that adjust the expectations you can have for somebody going into year one once we hit the fall?
Right. I think the one thing to take away from this, and I saw, people on Twitter, put stuff out, like how much can you hold over a coach's head if the results aren't there? And for Taggart being his first time in Boca, as a head coach for the Owls, everyone has the same playing field. Everybody is locked down. Everybody has limitations, whether it's not leaving the house or whether it's, recruiting or whatever the case might be. So I feel like this really is a test of how well these coaches can communicate. You know what I mean? Not just face-to-face, but on the phone. How well can they coach those X's and O's? Now, it's not about being that high flyer and pulling up to somebody's house in a souped-up car and pulling these recruits. You need to develop that relationship, know who these kids are, know what type of kid you have so that when you do go through installments of whatever coverages or plays or schemes, you're tending to that kid's learning requirement. I mean, as a teacher, you can't talk to every kid the same, right?
No.
You can't. They're not going to.
No, you can't deal with even players within the same position group the same.
Right. Exactly. So it's a level playing field. Some coaches are going to have it easier than the other. I think one of the underrated or flying under the radar type of guys in systems are those analysts. How much do these analysts now get to come into a Zoom room like we're doing right now, be a co-host, and instead of, say, Levitt being, here's my PowerPoint, that intern or that analyst is on the back scene just plugging away on PowerPoint, showing them, circling things, So I think those guys are going to have a big part of it.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be huge. And I actually think, again, meeting Willie Taggart a handful of times, signing day, at the Boca Raton Bowl win where he got to check out some of that big victory we had, in the booth with us, which was cool. I think that him leading this ship and dealing with any sort of adversity like this, so to speak, considering how much he's had to deal with the last couple of years himself, I actually think that's a better position for FAU to be in with someone like that, even compared to if it had been Lane Kiffin, because Lane seemed like such a creature of habit. And I think Willie just might have Coach Taggart and his staff might have a little bit more flexibility and be a little bit more adaptable for something like this. Because Lane was we would see it, it was just everything was as it should be, penciled out.
Right.
We go back to one of the one of our itineraries for our road trip got messed up, and the team still went out and won.
Yeah.
But Lane was not happy about it.
No, it wasn't.
I certainly don't think he would be right now either.
Right. He is very methodical. He posted something. I think it was during his first year. Ryan Holiday. He's a stoic type of writer. Has a couple books. Ego is the Enemy. Anyway, he made the entire staff and players read it. But that's just the type of guy he is. Like, you eliminate or block out the emotion of it. Right. This is how it's done. This is how we're going to do it. But at the same time, you look at some of the interviews that he has about going for it on fourth down, leading NCAA in that stat column of just going for it. Well, he said, if you look at the stats, it's in our favor more often than not. That's just how it is. But a lot of these coaches are definitely stuck in their way. There's going to be those newer coaches, those younger guys, kind of like maybe you are or how I am in my little group, where I'm kind of younger, I'm kind of tech savvy. I can get after it that way, kind of show people the ropes. These younger coaches are now going to have more weight in their program because they're going to be able to do it.
And be more relatable to the kids, and that could be good too.
Yeah.
I think out of the three of us, if Levick had to be leading a Zoom room, either with position coaches or if we had to do show prep through Zoom or anything like that, I think he'd struggle the most out of the three of us. And by the way, where is Levick? Is he up for another run?
Training for? You know what? That is funny. I was going to ask him about the run, and he might get there one day, and I can relate to them. He is he's dealing with a nightmare bedtime situation. All right, quote, nightmare bedtime situation. I'm about in the clear.
Almost. So we got to hear about this.
Let's divert off football for a second. I need to get this off my chest, okay?
All right.
This whole nighttime situation with putting my kids to bed.
Yeah. How's it working now with the extra one?
That's fine.
Okay.
That is fine. Now, like before it was, when it was just Shannon and I and one kid, it was like, we could just double team them. That was easy.
Take turns.
2 kids, man to man, I'm okay. They're not running deep routes on me. They're not flying by me. I have them in front of me. That was my thing. Now, I'm playing a crow to flat zone, but I just have crossers in front of me. I don't know who to take. I got the 4-year-old telling me what's happening, telling me the schedule. The 2-year-old runs around with no clothes on, right? Probably, no joke, Mike, probably about 16 hours a day, no clothes on.
I think that's a lot of America right now with this whole stay-at-home deal.
Yeah, potty training stuff is horrible. I'll randomly walk around and find a log, and then my son takes me to it. He'll say, "Hey, poop."
All right. Now you just got to work on aim next week.
Exactly. But the whole bedtime thing, he was still up right before this. It's 9:15, and he's trying to color and drink my Gatorade, right? And I'm like, dude, go to bed. And he just wants to lay there and then get up, water. Guy, see a little stuffed animal. I don't even know what it is. Could be a monkey or a pig. I don't know. He's like, guy, get him the guy. Pops up, mama. The other night, Mike, last Thursday, he wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning and starts playing with building blocks.
Oh.
In my room. They weren't in my room when he went to bed. He brought them in my room. Yeah.
Nice.
Now he's just sitting on the floor playing building blocks. That's the hardest part of my day, by far.
It's night.
Yeah.
Hardest part of your day is nighttime.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. I try to beat it by not giving him a nap.
Yeah. No. Well, is that working though?
No, because then he crashes. Yesterday he crashed at like 4:30, slept till 6:30. He's up.
Screwed either way.
Yeah. It's a no.
And you just wonder why I only have a dog and 2 cats. Best part of kids is making them.
There you go. I heard somebody related to a boat. Your best days of having a kid is when you give birth and when you send them off to college.
That's it.
That's
Till the tuition bill comes. You gotta get them. You gotta make sure your kid's on scholarship. Your kid's got a better chance of that. Ken, I don't know. The Bartels genes a little different than the Vicar genes when it comes to the athleticism.
I don't know, man. I mean,
although I was proud of Kenny. I mean, that for all the shade we throw him, he trained hard during the season. I know we wanted to have some fun talking about some of those road trips and stuff like that tonight. Man, there'll be times where we go out, it's Friday night on the road. We're expecting to win. We're feeling pretty good. We're checking out a new town. We want to see all there is to see in a 4 or 5 hour period before we got to hit the books. And Kenny, to his credit, man, that 5 a.m. alarm would go off, and he was out there running miles.
4:45 alarm to start his run at 5.
Doing the farthest come routine at 4:45, just running, man.
This dude went from, happy and fluffy to mean and lean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he transformed, dude. He transformed. He was circa 2013 Kent this year without all the partying.
Right.
Without all the partying. So
he was able to stand up at the end of the night.
Yeah, exactly. I think.
Well, man, he trained hard, but I'll never forget the line you had. Were we in Western Kentucky or someplace where it was going to be a little cold?
Yeah.
As we expected.
Yeah.
And I think that might have been the trip that the flight was delayed, or was it going? No, it was the last trip to UTSA in San Antonio, and our flight out was going to be delayed. And we took a look at the weather forecast, and certain part of Texas, they get cold when it's November time.
Yeah.
And Ken is going to take a detour. Now that we had some extra time, he's going to take a detour on his way to the airport so he can get mittens for when he goes for his run the next morning. And San Antonio, Texas is not Nova Scotia. I mean, it might be a little cold when we go up in the morning compared to Palm Beach.
Right.
But Ken's from Chicago, man.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 40 degrees is like the middle of spring for him.
I expect more from him when he talks about Chicago and how proud he wears that on his chest.
About the Southsiders.
Yeah, you and him are tough weathered people. You know what I mean? You're a PE coach. You can wear shorts any weather. You know what I'm saying? Like me.
Oh, I do. And we're doing now, even though we're doing the classes here virtually, I got uniform mullet going on. I'll look all sharp up top. We got to wear the uniform shirt during the day, look proper in case the principal comes into class. During the day, man, it weighs down what you don't see on camera. It's all shorts all the time.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I wear the same 3 pairs of sweatpants on rotation throughout the week. Whatever I wear the night before to bed, I wake up and I roll with that during the day.
Pull it right up off the floor and get going.
That's it, man. That's it.
And I was like that even in college too, when it legitimately was cold and there'd be snow and ice. You had to get out there with the scraper on the windshield. I'd throw a hoodie on. I'd have the hat over the ears, but I'd still find a way to wear shorts. I mean, it had to be 2 feet of snow on the ground coming up over my ankles for me to have to put on a pair of long pants in college.
No way, dude. Let me see where this guy.
So, I mean, I love that line you had of what part of Chicago are you from, man? When he needed mittens, because it might dip into the 40s in Texas in November. Man, I guess Ken really had a bad dream last night that he's still struggling with this.
Yeah,
maybe he saw too much of the Firefly Funhouse at WrestleMania, because I was supposed to see you this weekend. That's one of the reasons why I was supposed to have trips.
Plans.
That's right. To the Bartell side of the state now.
Dude, I had the bed ready for you guys, man.
For the Valspar golf tournament was one of the first events that got nixed.
Yeah.
When the PGA rattled off a few events, which ironically speaking in San Antonio, the hotel we stayed at is where the Valero Texas Open is held. That wound up getting nixed as well. I mean, everything basically through summer has gotten scratched.
When does this whole stuff end?
Between that and then I was supposed to be at Ray J last night for WrestleMania. That didn't happen. So, I mean, all these plans are on hold, man. This is messing some things up. But I do think, if we get back to football a little bit here, I do think that, people saw the quotes from Kirk Herbstreit of ESPN a couple weeks ago. Brett McMurphy from Stadium, tremendous college football reporter, was surveying basically every college athletic director in the country to get ideas of what some of the contingency plans were that were being drafted. And I got to say, I try to look a lot of things I see on the news and just see all right, for example, here in Palm Beach County, again, this is a serious thing. We're taking these steps for a reason. And Palm Beach County has more deaths related to this virus than any other county in Florida right now. But still, it's not that many. Still, the number of people who die from the regular flu on a weekly basis in Florida is at least comparable to some of the numbers we've seen for this. So, and 4 out of every 5 people that are even getting tested down here turn up negative. So I keep thinking that these numbers and these doomsday scenarios of like 6 figures worth of people dying, I certainly hope it's not true, and I think we're starting to get more evidence that it won't be. And that leads me to think that between the trends being a little bit more encouraging in recent days and just the business side of it, I mean, if people think the president is eager to get people back to work, there is nobody who wants to see people back in class and things get back to normal than college athletic directors, because they want those football programs paying the bills for everybody else come fall.
I don't know how that whole side of athletics works as far as, money and kids on campus, but it's not like Brian White has to be going through it right now. How do you juggle? How can you still bring in some sort of revenue to keep sports alive? They're probably having talks about what sports. I don't want to, speculate and put things out there that might not be true, but I would think that other athletic directors are having the conversation of what sport, in the event that this does go south, is being cut for a season or 2 seasons or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and even if it's not the whole sport getting cut, think about the reductions. Like I've seen some other athletic programs, I believe it was the Iowa Hawkeyes, were among the schools that were starting to see, voluntary reductions in salary. And if it were to get any worse, they probably don't cut a program or a sport, but think about if you lose some scholarships or you lose the money you have for assistants. That was one of the big things that Lane Kiffin brought to FAU was a higher salary pool for assistant coaches, and we see how much that paid off. So that could be something that's severely impacts not just the Owls, but look at the Florida Gators who will be playing in 2021. Look at even those big programs, the Group of 5 programs, or excuse me, the Power 5 programs, beyond what we would be looking for to make sure that these guarantee games, like us going to Minnesota to start the season, happen, because literally jobs are dependent on that money.
Yeah.
And I just think there would be riots in the streets if we got to the fall and, people can only watch 30 for 30 documentaries and old NCAA tournament games for so long before we start going nuts.
Yeah. It's touchy, though, because you mentioned the numbers, and I read the same thing today. There was a Twitter feed about the numbers, and the highest point, the date's a little bit sooner because, the numbers are dropping. They're not going to be as high.
Oh, the Florida graph shifted big time, yeah.
Yeah. But
in a good way.
In the past week, if you don't say all those things, if you don't aim or put worst case scenario out there, people are still out and about. People are still walking around, not maintaining their space, and still just doing dumb stuff, just acting like it is nothing that's going to bother them. There's people that have it that don't even know.
Right. Which is good for them, but it could be bad for somebody else if you pass it on without knowing.
Exactly. So I think the numbers and the graph and the shifting of where it's at. Kenny.
Well, we got the latest on Ken. How's it going?
Yeah, man, latest on Ken. Here we go. Ken update here.
Just singing a lullaby?
The Ken update. He has to scrap it. I can't say the next part, but he's going to ground his firstborn for a long time.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But, no, that's good. I'm glad he's not here.
This is good. Now we can start talking about him even more, so let the questions fly.
Yeah.
But, I do think that we will be back to football on time. Because I know that was one of the ideas that was floated out there of maybe things get pushed back so much. There was talk about, would the games have to actually take place in the spring semester? How do schools handle that? Would it just be playing your conference opponents? It's like a 9-week season. Everybody's just playing their conference games. And, in that case, Group of 5 schools would really get hurt, because whether it's us going to Minnesota or some of those other big payday games, other schools in Conference USA and other Group of 5 conferences looking forward to next year, athletic budgets are built, factoring in that money and
Right.
people's weekends. Let's face it. I mean, we're talking about when we got to travel for games. There's a lot of fans just planning their calendars and their weekends around whether it's kids and relatives playing Friday nights, maybe Saturdays, going to games Sundays, tailgating,
Right.
stores. I mean, that would as much as things have been thrown out of whack already, I think you'd see it even taken to another level if we got to the fall and couldn't resume, what's become such an integral part of the fabric of American culture now.
Right. Here we go.
We got a special guest?
We got a special guest.
There's Ken. He let his hair grow out. And he got taller since we saw him last, too. What's up, Ken?
What are you doing? You want agua? All right. No, you can't have the scissors. All right. Can you take this and go? Yeah. Okay. See you later.
Well, you can get the Gatorade at least.
Get the Gatorade, not the beer.
All right. Well, yeah. I was going to say, don't give him what's in the other glass.
See ya. Man, it's
What do you have over in the glass tonight, by the way?
This is Goose Island IPA, man.
Oh, yeah, in honor of Kenny, little Chicago style.
Is that what it is? I had no idea.
Goose Island is big in Chicago. I think it's actually brewed up there, but I remember, I know this is like heresy to talk about with Ken, but Wrigleyville, Goose Island is very popular.
Really? I had it on the airplane going to Israel for my brother's wedding. I think it was right when they got kicked off and opened up, and I was like, this is awesome. But at that time, the flight attendants were just feeding us drinks, so it was such a long flight. But yeah, I had a former coach reach out to me about a month ago asking me about tickets for the Minnesota game. Hey, do you think you can give me some tickets? But these guys are planning it out way in advance, like you mentioned. And for those games, I don't know how much the FAU is getting. Do you know how much they're getting for the?
I can look it up probably.
Yeah.
Most of these games they've publicized now what you get.
Yeah, but with that being said, man, just $2 million, for example, how much is that? And they probably cover
It's usually a seven-figure sum for sure.
Yeah, they probably cover some sort of flight or something to that effect. We'll pay for your hotel too, all that stuff. Those foods that these kids get, though, just off, separate topic here, that alone is worth a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
Just to feed those beasts.
Plus, when you throw us into the mix.
Yeah. Please?
Yeah, I could double check it and see what they were getting particularly. I think Ohio State last year was certainly a little bit more.
Right.
But it was still, a nice game. And the other perk about it, I think, which is awesome. I mean, the last couple of years, FAU has opened the season with a noon Saturday kickoff on Fox Network TV, which is awesome. But I'm actually looking forward to that opening Thursday night just a little more.
I agree. It's playing on Thursday night is a little bit different. Saturday, everyone plays. I remember we played. Yeah, I think it was my 2006 season where we played a Thursday, had a bye week, played a Thursday, and then played like a Friday. It was something weird like that with FAU. And we were the only game on that night, but that's why they did that. It was a conference game. Can you come here? And it's just different. Different feel. You're the only game on.
Yeah.
Feeling.
Now, we won't be the only game on that Thursday night, but I'm sure it's going to be a primo spot when you're going to travel to take on a Big Ten school. They came away with a big season last year, an Outback Bowl win over Michigan.
Right.
A team that made a lot of noise over the course of the season, being undefeated through Halloween. So there's going to be a lot of excitement in TCF Bank Stadium. FAU scheduled to receive, what do you think, Bartels? What's your over-under at?
Oh, man. 1.7?
A little lower than that. 1.2 million for this one.
Really? Okay. But still, 1.2
1.2 is not bad.
See, at least thinking about it this way, FAU.
A lot more than we're getting for going to Georgia Southern this year.
Oh, gosh. That'll be a blast. I'm really looking forward to that. So, in the past, we would go to these places like Minnesota, and it was just a training. It was just basic training, as Schnelly used to say it. So certain players would go in with the expectation of getting your teeth kicked in. It was a really high possibility. And now you're going up, you get paid, and you have the potential being an FAU under the radar type of team, a former Lane Kiffin team, and now these players want to prove something that it's not the coach, but it's them. They have the opportunity. It's there. It's there.
Absolutely. I'm trying to see if I can bring up what the payday was for Ohio State last year. It was one of the late additions to their schedule. I don't know if we replaced somebody else or not, but we basically helped round out that schedule, and they had the rest of the non-conference already set.
Yeah.
For the rest of the year. But yeah, when we started there in August, that was an interesting weekend because as much as we're dealing with things being shut down now, I know it wasn't what you guys ran into in Wisconsin a couple of years ago while Irma rolled through here, but we were in danger of having to make an extended stay in Columbus.
Yeah. Did you and I fly out of the same airport?
Yeah, I remember. So you and I flew with a small contingent of other FAU people because, these season opening games, it'll happen the same thing in Minnesota, Knockwood. It's on time. Right. And we're headed there September 2nd, I guess, to fly out on a Wednesday. But these big money start of the season games, the big boosters who have been really helping support the program over the last couple of years and donating a lot, a lot of times the check might be contingent on having a seat or two on an airplane for a game or two. And it's usually those big ones at the beginning of the season that they've either requested to go to, it's a give back, or it might be an enticement to try to get somebody a little bit more involved. Exactly. And so there was the charter flight from Palm Beach to Columbus was overbooked. How many times do people deal with overbooked flights on a daily basis? So this was an overbooked charter flight. So you and I were amongst that small contingent. Levica, he's VIP.
Oh, no, he was sitting next to Lane.
That's it. I don't know about that, but he was not amongst the people who were looking to voluntarily give up the seat for future air.
He replaced somebody, actually.
I'll do that, though. I'll do that even on a regular flight, though. When I used to live up north and I was coming down to Florida, if they told me that the flight was overbooked and they were offering, I'd wait till it got to like 300 at least, but I had a number. I'd stick around in the airport for a few hours, wait till the next plane to roll through. We didn't really have that option off this flight. And the transfer we had, where did we fly to? Did we fly to Atlanta first? We had to connect somewhere.
I think it was Charlotte.
Charlotte, you're right.
Yeah.
We flew from Fort Lauderdale to Charlotte Commercial.
Yep.
And then we flew on basically an aspirin with wings from Charlotte to Columbus. I mean, this was a small plane.
That's right. I totally forgot how small
this was a plane that LaVica would have thought was tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if I wasn't sitting next to him. I mean, this thing was like one step above what they use in like flight school for these pilots when they don't want to take anybody else out. So they give you something little this way, just in case. It's a small hole in the cornfield.
Yeah.
And we were on one of those. And man, that thing, you felt every little bump. I think if we would have hit into a flock of seagulls, we would have lost. And that was a small plane to go into Columbus. But man, we got there that night. And then the next morning, we headed to the stadium early. We didn't even wait for the team buses.
No.
Because we had, we figured it was going to be crazy to set things up. It's my first time having to plug all these things in. Brian Rowe, it's missed you, especially that day, because all of a sudden internet was a factor. And so we got there early. And I'll tell you what, man, these people start early.
They
whatever crowd we thought we were going to beat trying to get to the horseshoe did not happen.
Not happening. But it's different, man. 100 years of football. FAU is in, 20?
Yeah, and I tell you what, I mean, you were talking earlier about trying to get more people to consistently come out to FAU Stadium, and I think consistent winning will certainly help that out. But think about it. I mean, the milestones that the program achieved just in the last couple of years.
Right.
The bowl wins they've had, double-digit win seasons, conference championships. There's not many other programs that have been around for as short as FAU has been and have achieved those sort of accomplishments already.
Right. It's my wife and I were talking earlier, and no, we were talking yesterday, and I was like, babe, I showed my son. There was a little clip that Jake, I know you're watching. He posted that he posted a clip of me returning a kickoff, and I showed my son. My son's like, why'd you let him tackle you? Like, oh, okay, great. And then my wife was like, you guys lost a lot of games, but you won a lot of really important games.
Yeah.
So, those milestones as a young program nowadays, I mean, you hear of young programs doing that often because you have different kids going different places. Let me, my son just grabbed 16 glue sticks and a pair of
Oh, nice. That's asking for trouble. All right, so we planned on doing this over the weekend. It might have just been Ken was up too late and was having a couple of beverages and sent us these wacky ideas to start doing these things. We'd love to do it again. We'd love to have you guys be a part of it. If you have more questions, especially Ken is always on Twitter. You can fire him the questions at him there. And we certainly would love to share some more stories from the road, the ones that we are allowed to share, and some things stay off the record. And then also take some questions, look back not only on 2019 and some of the other great moments in the past, but also be able to look forward to 2020. And I'll say that's one other thing that really, I think, helped us carry some momentum. And was it tough losing Lane Kiffin? Was the weekend of the conference title game, especially, was that, it was a weird feeling because you just knew the other shoe was about to drop. And, then you start seeing things on Twitter and social media and websites that, even over the course of the morning warmups, it seems like things have dropped. So that was just a weird feeling. But I'll tell you what, by the time we got to the Boca Raton Bowl and found out that, Lane Kiffin was leaving, and guess what, guys? Anyone who ever gripes about Lane Kiffin leaving, be happy he was there for this season, okay? Be happy he was there for 3 years because we thought we were going to lose him after the first 11-3 campaign back in 2017. So the fact that he stuck around, it was a weird feeling about Lane leaving for that Conference USA title game. But I don't know about you. I was jacked up when they were getting Willie Taggart because I think what Florida State did was a disservice to him and it's going to turn out to be a disservice to them. Some Florida State fans that I talked to, including Brian Rowitz, got to always give a shout out to B-Man, longtime member of the FAU radio crew. I mean, he will tell you, and I've heard this echoed from others, and it's been documented and written about if you want to find it online as well, that what Taggart inherited in Tallahassee was a complete grease fire.
Yeah.
I mean, say what you want about Jameis Winston and what he did to the Bucs. What Jimbo Fisher did after winning that national title with Jameis, and just, knowing that I guess he butted heads with someone in the administration, knew he wanted a bigger payday, knew he wanted to move on, and just the way he let things go from that point on for, more than a year.
Right.
And what Willie had to try to pull the reins back on a little bit with things just being completely out of control.
Yeah.
In a place like Tallahassee where, we've all seen the various stories, and it's not exclusive to Florida State that the big time programs, a lot of stuff people look the other way. But what, I think he might not have realized just how bad it was when he went to take that job because he had his heart set on it. But between the caliber of coach FAU's getting and the fact that he comes in motivated to prove everybody wrong about what happened with him up in Tallahassee, I was thrilled with that hire, especially compared to some of the other candidates that were discussed to try to fill that Lane Kiffin void.
I think you have hot cold. You have the guys that are like super like, I can't believe you did that. You tore up, Florida State, yada yada yada. And then you have people like, I mean, whatever. For me, what are the options? I think that is what you got to consider. Who are the other options? I think he is the name that has to be considered at that point. And he's the best option for the job. I'm excited. I think what he did at Western Kentucky, the relationship he has with the Harbaughs, his pipeline, and people pull up his stats about what he did at USF and what he did at Oregon, and he wasn't that good at USF. He rebuilt that team too.
Right.
You know,
he's never stepped into as good of a situation as he has here in Boca Raton.
Right. So he has weapons here at FAU. He's going to be fine. This is a little bit of a road bump for him, but just like the rest of the nation, they're dealing with it too. I'm excited, dude.
Yeah, no, again, I mean, we go back to, first year staffs, whether it's here with Taggart and company or, Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach at Mississippi and all the other coaches that have moved around and are trying to install things right now at the college level. High school coaches going through it also, some coaches in the pros. And, it's the coaches and the pros can do things over video all the time. They're almost used to this. But I think, again, considering the other situations Taggart took over and his other stops, he would almost welcome this little hiccup. Not to minimize what's going on right now because it's bigger than football and bigger than anything you have to deal with just as a program.
Yeah.
But, again, I think that he can handle this adversity and things that are outside of his control a lot easier than the previous regime would have. And I think, again, going back to what we said before about assistants, not only do you have to be excited about Willie Taggart, you got to be excited about some of the guys that are either held over on the staff or that are going to be a part of the staff going forward. I'm talking about Kevin Patrick coming in here and the great job he's done with pass rushers and at his previous stops he's been at, like NC State. Jeff Nord sticking around on the offensive line, I think, is huge because I thought he was maybe the most valuable of all the assistants they had last year, other than, on the offensive side of the ball. What Coach Spencer did defensively, keeping the team together and getting them ready for that bowl game was a tremendous job. I'm excited to see what Levitt's defense is going to look like here in some of those changes. I know that's something that we'd love to sink our teeth into going forward as we do more of these chats and conversations to help fill this sports void we have going on. I would have really that was the thing I was most excited to see about this spring, how were some of the pieces, especially since you had so much turnover up front from last year's team, how are those new pieces going to fit in with what Jim Levitt wants to do? Because his defense is certainly a whole lot different up front than what we had with Glenn Spencer last year.
What are the chances of us getting one of these coaches on for a Zoom meeting? Because
I don't know. Lane always had a strict no assistants to talk unless it was at the beer garden.
Right.
For the coach's show. That was a strict policy. I mean, I know that was enforced for, our friends that do radio interviews elsewhere that would just, they were trying to almost throw the assistant coach a bone, knowing that Lane always got to shine. Yeah. And they're like, hey, I know you guys are grinding, putting in the hours, putting in the time, helping with the recruiting. And they just wanted to talk football with him instead of all the other stuff that people talk about with Lane. And Lane just put, the FAU staff, Katrina and everybody would put in the word. And it was just a hard no from Lane every time. I don't know if Willie is that rigid.
I think it would be a great idea to pitch this to somebody. Even, I know this is above my pay grade, but a coach's show on Zoom.
A Zoom coach's show?
A Zoom coach's show would be clutch.
Can I still have the stein of beer as if we're in beer garden?
Dude, I'm not having a stein next time. I'm going to have a shot glass, and every time we say Lane Kiffin, I'm going to take a shot.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a lot, so that's why I said that. You know what
I mean?
If
we recount every time that you actually had a conversation with him, it won't be that much.
No, that's not. That's going to be 4. I said hi to him on the plane one time. I'll count that, so it's 4.
That's big.
Yeah.
Monty, I tell you what, this is something we can share with people. This isn't really talking out of school. Lane Kiffin leaving is the headlines. We're going to miss Monty even more.
I didn't realize how much of a bond Monty and I had. And I think my bond with Monty was stronger than his bond with me. But when I found out Lane was leaving, it wasn't about the team or the university. It was about Monty.
Well, who's going to be behind us in the second row on those road trips?
How is this booth going to feel this fall, 2020, without Monty and his 18 packs of menthol chewing gum?
It's probably going to be a lot cleaner on the carpet by the time we get done with a broadcast, that's for sure.
Half-drank coffee.
Yes. He's a legend. We're going to miss him. Certainly hope he enjoys his time in Oxford as well. And I'll tell you what, I had to stay even though it's off season, had to stay company. Man, they're not paying me for this tonight. I just enjoy the stuff.
What's that?
My Publix still had a 4-pack when I went and did the last little stock up thing. Maple Bacon Porter from our friends at Funky Buddha.
Really?
Official craft brew of FAU Athletics.
Okay.
Have you ever had this?
I have not. Not. Is it good? Maple bacon?
It is everything you heard of and more. Man. It is that good. So enjoy your Goose Island in honor of Ken Levica, which is from Lincoln Park up there. I don't think he would like it too much, though, because it's so popular around Wrigleyville.
Yeah. He's not a Cubs guy, right?
No, you kidding?
No, I can't say like him and Anthony Rizzo, can't put them in the same sentence.
No, I mean the only thing worse for Ken would be that something going on at Wrigleyville if it was like a Trump rally at Wrigleyville.
Yeah.
Probably isn't going to happen anytime soon, but that would just be like that would give Ken nightmares.
Yeah,
he'd have to have his kid singing him to sleep.
Exactly.
That would be Ken's nightmare come to life. One other bit of, I guess, sort of breaking news we had, and we're certainly looking forward to the draft. James Pierre, Harrison Bryant, good showings in the combine, especially Bryant earning the all combine accolades that he did. But I'm looking on Twitter the other day, and we're texting back and forth, and I see John Rain in the transfer portal. And, there's so much jokes that goes back and forth, so many jokes, I should say, that go back and forth on our little text chain we have going on. I didn't think he was serious at first, and then go to find out, John Rain, what we thought would be the top returning tight end this year, did put his name in the transfer portal. But with the way that's working now, and especially, again, this year, how does that complicate things? Because we heard weeks ago that Miko Dotson was putting his name in the transfer portal, and I don't know about you, I haven't heard anything since about him actually moving on somewhere else. So I think that might be another complicating factor that actually could work out better for FAU. And I'm sure there's, guys that, you get solicited, you get nudged into it, so you put yourself in the transfer portal so you don't have to worry about the NCAA, and then you could pull yourself back later on as long as this game of scholarship musical chairs doesn't dry up. I'm sure Coach Taggart and company would hold a spot for someone like Miko Dotson after the performance he had in the Owl secondary last year. And John Rain, same way, but they're at least taking their chances. I just wonder what that would be like, especially this spring where so much is unsettled because coaches haven't gotten a chance to see their players on the field.
And would John, if there was a spring, would this still have happened? That's my only thing. If there was a spring, would he still been debating on transferring, or would he have been able to kind of see what Trickett's system is like with Taggart and all the other pieces around him? How does that look? How does this affect Chris Robinson? I don't want to dig too much into it now. I know Ken sent me a text about wanting to get back into another meeting sometime this week. I don't want to eat up all the chewing topics here, but I know he's going to have a lot of things to say in regards to transfers, and somehow he has his ear to every ground, window, wall. Like he just knows stuff, and people want him to know stuff, so that's good.
Absolutely. No, they keep feeding it to him, and then he passes it on to us. So I go back. Are you a big reader of The Athletic?
I am a recent follower of the NFL analyst who is a writer for The Athletic. I forgot his name. Last name?
All right. Yeah, no, that's the thing. I follow all the guys from The Athletic that a lot of them used to work for ESPN.com and other major publications out there. Now they're writing for The Athletic. And I just follow them all on Twitter because that's what my budget allows.
Yeah.
Not actually paying for the service. But there is a guy named Mark Bullock who apparently covers the Redskins for The Athletic up in D.C.
Okay.
All right. Mark Maskey was always the guy that I knew was like the top guy when it came to Redskins coverage in D.C. But anyway, Mark Bullock NFL. He's got the blue verified check, which I can't claim to have. I don't even know if you have one of those
a blue check?
On the Twitter.
Definitely
but
don't.
On April 3rd, all right, he puts up a little clip watching Harrison Bryant versus Ohio State. But his teammate, John Rain, keeps flashing, and he has a clip of one of the plays with Rain making a reception towards the right sideline. Nice crossover to get outside a defender against leverage. I assume he's not draft eligible this year with a question mark, all right? So it just gets a little shine, but it comes on April 3rd. And then basically the next day, we find out John Rain's in the transfer portal.
The next day, the irony.
So I don't know if just his phone started blowing up and, hey, you're getting attention, you're getting love. And I don't know how those things work, that in depth. But that was just the funny timing of it to me. Is all of a sudden one blue check on Twitter showing you some love and boom, transfer portal. But, we got Ramon Smith. We have other options. It would be nice to have John Rain come back for Chris Robinson. When we thought there was going to be tremendous turnover for receivers options this year with so much that was lost in the wide receiver room, thinking about how important the tight ends would be, John Rain was clutch. Early in the season until Harry B got going. And then, of course, he showed you why he was going to be a Mackey Award winner, as if there was any doubt. Late in the season, really just took off late in the season. I mean, some of those plays he had, I remember the Alamo Dome, UTSA, just blowing guys over and getting ready to play on Sunday. So we certainly hope the next couple of weeks go well for him. Maybe you can get Harrison Bryant on there. Maybe if you can't get an assistant coach, you can get a future Al playing on Sundays.
I think let's get Ken on that, man.
I'll tell you what. I would take it as a win just to get Ken on.
Let's do that, man.
We're aiming high with assistant coaches and players, so we can't even get Ken to show up. What's up?
We've been on for a full hour.
Well, this to me is like Friday night after the play night.
Yeah,
we can go until 2:30 in the morning.
Friday night right here,
and shooting the stuff about everything else, and it would just fly on by.
That's it, man. It's been a pleasure, dude. I need to get this guy to sleep.
Yes. I got to watch last night's Homelands. I'm still behind on that. I try to avoid spoilers all day. I was so busy watching WrestleMania last night. I got to watch Homeland right now and see my man Saul and see how he's going to save the world again.
Oh, I need to check it out. Never heard of it.
You never watched Homeland on Showtime?
Oh, man.
Oh, that's a great. See, that's one of those that like right now on the quarantine as people are catching up on some older shows.
Yeah.
Like my wife and I have been watching Cheers. I wasn't around when Cheers was like in its run. And I knew the characters and stuff. And the first trip we ever took together was actually a weekend up to Boston. Yeah. And we drove right by it. So, it's quick. You can knock it out 20 minutes in an episode with no commercials on Netflix. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. But if you need something you can get into, especially those early first couple of seasons, home and get on it. As soon as you get done playing dad.
Exactly.
Well, listen, it was a lot of fun tonight. Anyone who's joining us on YouTube, streaming it live, we'll hope to do it again. You can blame Ken LaVicka for saying that we were going to do this, and then he bagged out on us. But fatherhood, I guess, comes first.
That's it, man. Send us some questions, Mikey. Until next time, buddy.
Rumi.
Hey, my guy.
Have a great night, sir.
I'll see you.